Direct fit, my ass. This is enormously frustrating. This is not what I wanted. Nothing fits. This better be 1,000 horsepower more. A crowbar. This is going to be my big problem, I think. This is so stupid. Oh my goodness, that is a substantial leak. Okay, I'm going to be fitting a very expensive aluminium intercooler. It's going to go poorly. I'm going to get frustrated. And there will be some use of bad language. You have been warned. This is a long one. Well, what have we here? Another project underway. That is my 25-year-old intercooler. It's very corroded on the aluminium. Not a lot of oil inside. One of the brackets is snapped. That's probably when I was removing it though. In terms of the fins, it's in pretty good shape, but I've got something better to put on. So this intercooler is made by Allisport, and it's currently available for about £500. It's 3 times the size of the standard intercooler, but claims of increased horsepower or fuel economy should basically be ignored. However, this will keep this engine running cooler. That's what I'm interested in, especially if I'm towing or if I'm hauling a lot of weight. I'm replacing this tragic little intercooler because that's just not big enough. Hello friend and assistant. From Allisport or Allisport down in England. Allisport in Ledbury, Herefordshire. The good news is this is very well packed, but in the process of fitting this, I'm sure I'm going to probably drop it several times. Definitely bend some of the fins. Oh, see, nearly dropped it. Now, I think when I bought this it was about £600 with a 6-week lead time, and you could get a custom one made. There's a few places that would do that for you, namely LAR 4x4. It's run by Adam Laraway, but he's about 300 miles drive from me. So what I went for was this Allisport one. Now I have bent a couple of the fins already, just because this thing has been in and out of boxes and it's been stored in the warehouse. I must have bought this a year ago. But the point of this one is, it should, in theory, go into the factory position without a lot of tomfoolery. Got it upside down. Somewhere in amongst this malarkey, this should fit into the factory position and be a big upgrade. This is called an intercooler. I'm probably looking at 3 times the volume. Maybe more if I included the end tanks, but it should be a pretty major upgrade. There are some things which need to be moved around, namely this. I think this is part of the transmission cooler, but it looks like there's just enough length on the hoses that I can bend it and tuck it under. We'll see. I don't want to remove the this big oil cooler. I think that's again part of the transmission cooler. I just got to find out how much of this I can fit in without having to relocate stuff. That is definitely going to fall foul of... Oh, sorry Matthew, stood on your hand there. Definitely going to fall foul of that oil cooler. So I'll either have to mount this at a jaunty angle or move the bracket somehow. Let me move some stuff, see if I can get it to fit. Now, this is where it's going to be really tricky. I've moved this cooling pipe down and tucked it out the way so I can solve that afterwards. I'll be able to have a little bit of bend in it, but because the brackets are so rusty, you can't do too much or it'll just shear off. This is going to be my big problem, I think, because I don't want to relocate the oil cooler. I think the best I could do is to, maybe it could move backwards a little bit. Look, because there's a little bit of space behind it, but there's really not a lot of room to work with. This intercooler is sold as a direct replacement, but I'm not convinced. This would be easier if I remove the pipework first and get that into position and then fit the pipes afterwards. A bit more. Okay, that was easy enough. Yeah, superb. No drama. Right, this should make it easier. If I remove these pipes, get them out of the way, I'll fit them afterwards. There's a bit more space here. There's a definite bracket on the bottom right hand side there, or what will now be the bottom left. So let me see. The fitment on that is absolutely terrible. So it doesn't fit because of the power steering cooler pipes. I won't be able to move it far enough over that it can fit the mounting point in the centre. The bracket down the bottom here, so the bracket at the bottom fits nothing at all. Maybe the whole thing needs to be moved to the right. That would line it up with the central mounting point there. It would suggest that the whole thing has to sit down lower. Maybe if I fit that, if I find a way to get that bracket on, the rest will make sense. But I could drill out a new hole and fit that onto this bracket and have it sitting in front of the crash bar. Then it would clear this power steering pipe. But I'm still going to be positioned where maybe I have to cut the bumper so that it can sit far forward enough. And there's only so much bend that I can put in this pipe if it's got to come this way. Pretty far from a direct fit. Well, the kit does come with some instructions, but I have 4 pictures to go from and just a few bullet points. But it seems like the crux of it is that this power steering cooler and this gearbox cooler have to move. It's not clear how. Like that bracket seems to push forward slightly. Maybe it has to just have a flat bracket so that it goes backwards. Certainly there's these brackets included in the kit, but that's only going to save me like 10 millimeters of clearance. It doesn't appear to be moving to the right at all. So I'm going to undo these bolts and see if I can move the gearbox cooler first. Some little spacery jobs here as well, which I'm going to assume they're part of the party. I'm going to get some grease too, because I have a sneaking suspicion this might be on and off a few times. Trusty cross threader here. All of these bolts are so old and ruined. The instructions say allow 3 hours, probably going to take me even longer than that. Nothing fits. That is a problem with this kit, is that there's one bolt. So which leaves me reusing all this other stuff. Right, I think I'm actually going to drill out all of these so that one end can take an 8mm, and I'll try and use the shorter ones on the top here and leave the longer ones for the bottom. Okay, well, that wasn't ideal. Now the kit came with these little brackets, which I've just drilled out to accommodate the larger bolt size. I've got 2 snapped bolts, don't need them. I've just drilled it into the one that's remaining. I've used this little bushing type spacer, so that keeps it on a bit of a standoff from the air conditioning radiator or condenser. And then on the bottom one, I haven't used the bushing. Will that give me enough room past this hose? I've got a little bit of bend left in this hose. Not much. Let's now see if the intercooler will fit in there. Unfortunately, it's still sharing space with that pipe at the bottom there. So if I can bend it down a bit, that gets it part of the way out the road. But then this bracket is very definitely in the way. I wonder if I need to chop the bottom off that bracket. Look, it's sharing space with that pipe. It's nowhere near that bracket yet. On the top, it's nowhere near that bracket. The best I could do is like have it fitted at an angle so that I could get this bracket on this side and just fit it tilted backwards and somehow stand off that bracket on this side. Because that one's nowhere near, and it's all because of the rubber pipe at the back of it. So I'll try and bend that back some more. I'm going to cut that bracket at the bottom of the gearbox cooler and see how I get on. Direct fit my ass. We can get a bit more bend on this pipe without fracturing anything. I mean, this is already knackered. These power steering or cooler pipes are going to need replaced eventually. I mean, look at the state of that one. That's ruined. That's not long for this world, I think. So new gearbox, cooler and pipes might be on the cards before long. Well, now I'm going to cut this bottom edge off here so that I can drop this down behind the bolt. But I can't do that with this lip on here, so I'm going to cut this section off. Here goes my warranty. Well, my new plan is that I've cut the bottom here and the bottom here so that I can drop it down into this little bracket and this little bracket. If I can drop it down from the top, hopefully I'll get enough clearance for this hose pipe here. Let's find out if I can finally get this thing to fit. No, that's the wrong length. This is stupid. This is so stupid. So I want this central bolt to line up clearly. That's the most obvious mounting point, and that will hopefully get the pipework to fit. But I've had to cut this at an angle so that I can drop it down behind this rubber bracket. And I reckon I can either get that in position or I can drill a new hole if I need one. Along the other end here, maybe I need to move it over a bit and then drill a hole, because it does seem to be a bit of an angle. Maybe both will fit if it's down and into that pocket. Even once it's there, I can only get it to lean back if I squash the gearbox cooler hoses, which I really don't want to do because they're quite old and fragile. So the alternative is to fit this thing at a squinty angle, because look, even there, that needs to be further back. I can't fit that like that. It's too far forward. I need to be able to get the intercooler to sit further back. But the brackets are in the way. So, I mean, what do? Do I cut the bracket more? Or do I cut my bumper plate? Or do I just twist the damn thing into place? But I can't twist it into place because I don't want to buckle the gearbox hoses. Like, the fitment here is just not working. And everything's just too close here, and I could end up rubbing through the aluminium. I mean, it's a miracle I haven't damaged this thing so far while I'm fitting it. This is really not ideal. Right, this is so dumb now. Nothing fits, and I don't want to keep chopping. So I'm gonna manoeuvre it in, having cut the bottom bracket on both sides. If I lever this out a little bit, I can get this to drop down behind that rubber seal. Ugh. On the other side, I reckon again I could lever that to get a bolt through that hole. This is the best that it's looked so far. To get it to fit at the top so that I can clear this hose, I'm gonna have to bend everything basically. Because look, even now that it's in position, it doesn't attach at the top. It's wrong. Ugh. Is this what I have to do now? You know, do I have to try and reuse an existing bracket? You know, or like that? Or am I going to have to drill a new hole? This is enormously frustrating. This is not what I wanted. And I don't even know yet if this pipework is going to fit. Bracket at the bottom, having cut it, I can drop it into place. Same on this other side. Having cut it, I can drop it into place, and I think I can get a bolt in there more or less. So I think my best bet is to mount the two bottom parts here and then come up with a solution for the top here. Either drilling a new hole, you know, I could drill a hole and mount this little spacer thing wherever it went. You know, I could mount that at the back here or something. But it's just, I mean, this would be good if it was a vertical oblong, because then I could have a bit of height adjustment rather than pivot adjustment. It just, I mean, I'm an amateur, right? I get that, but this is hard going. So this is very tricky to get this to focus, but at the top here, to get this bracket here onto the slam panel here, or whatever you call it, I'm gonna have to push it back. Now what happens when I push it back? It bends the gearbox cooler back. So this thing's constantly going to be metal on metal. The twist I'm going to have to put on this is just all kinds of in the wrong place. A crowbar. Oh, I can't believe I'm crowbarring aircon pipes to try and get this thing to fit. I think I'm going to have to take this off and cut it again. This is ridiculous, really. All right, here we go again. Direct fit. Ah, damn it, it's still... I gotta get this bolt through there, but it just... nothing fits. This is just so dumb. More grinding completed. Ugh. Pull that down. Shuffle it along. Shuffle that back. Finally, I might be able to get a bolt through all these layers. Honestly, this shouldn't be this difficult. I apologise for the heavy breathing. This has actually turned out to be more work than I expected. Right, I think finally that's going in. Okay, my dilemma here is the pressure in the back here. And if I continue to tighten, it's squeezing this hose pipe and this hose clamp. Now, that is pretty solid now, just mounted on the two bottoms. But what the hell is this thing supposed to do? Do I now just bend the whole lot into place? Is that what it's come to? Do I just push the top back and bend it and crush that other hose into place? Because even so, right, so that's how much I have to crush it. It's quite a lot of pressure I have to put on that hose. So as long as it doesn't rub through over time, I might be all right, but I'm close, and I need this thing to be tilted back, because otherwise I'm not going to get clearance for the pipes, or I'm not going to have a hope in hell of getting clearance for the pipes. Look, that's already flattened a little bit. I'm going to have to bend that out too. I'm going to do that next before I try messing with the pipes. So bend that out, screw this one in somehow, and then see if I've got clearance for the pipes. I mean, it looks cool, but what a palaver.
11 minutes later.
Well, it's fitted. To get it to lean back, I've had to use the original bolt because the one supplied with the kit just didn't fit with the washer and all the rest. So I've had to notch out this bracket at the bottom. I've had to notch out this bracket. I've had to re-drill all of the little extension brackets. I've had to remove the brackets at the bottom of the gearbox cooler completely. I've had to bend this bumper plate here to get clearance for the hoses. I've had to move this thing. This is a steering cooler, I think. I still, can't even get that moved. I still have no idea whatsoever where I'm going to put this steering cooler. Maybe I can tuck it down the side or something. In fact, maybe I should have done that before fastening this. Hey, maybe I'm going to have to take it off again. We'll see. So there's no place for the steering cooler. The gearbox cooler's been moved all the way back. It's dodgy because I think I'm going to get some rubs here over time. This gearbox cooler hose has been bent right out of the way. I had to cut the brackets in order to make clearance for the hose to go back through. Let's hope it doesn't puncture. But it's in. Now let's see if the hoses will even fit. Because it'll be a nightmare if they don't. The whole point of this was so that it fit. You can tell I'm annoyed now. I've had enough of this. And this was expensive, like 600 quid. Ugh. Oh, what a surprise. It barely fits. I mean, this is ridiculous, right? You know, using a crowbar to try and make this fit. This is not normal, yeah? I'm gonna turn this video off because I'm annoyed now.
20 minutes later.
This is going, but only just. I'm gonna try and get that high enough that I can then bend it over and get it onto this other one. I think I might actually have to loosen it and do the front one first so I can pull it down. So again, one step forward, one step back. This better be a absolutely exceptional level of performance off this thing. 1,000 horsepower more. I reckon it'd be worth it for 1,000 horsepower. I'm not sure it's worth it for 10. Right, it's on. That's made harder because I have a body lift. So that's not really Allisport's fault. But, fuck me, that was a lot of work. And I'm still not done yet because I haven't figured out what to do with this power steering cooler. Oh, that wasn't a great noise. I can't pull this out far enough to pop it down there. Get ready everyone, because I am the patron saint of dumb ideas. This can only go poorly. Nah, abort. I'm bending the intercooler. Damn it, I do not want to remove this thing. It took such a boatload of work to get it in position. I could try to remove this bracket and see if that gives me a bit more space to work. If I remove this one, will that also give me a little bit more space to work? Does that give me enough to squish this down here? It's getting silly at this point. Done, it's down there. Now I need to see if I can relocate it to next to this aircon gubbins. Can I do this without bending or breaking anything else? That crack was a plastic thing, so that's all right. Now we need a rubber adhesive pad or something to stop that from vibrating, because that's going to be on there constantly getting dieseled. Relocate, it says. You may have to relocate your cooling hoses. Makes it sound dead easy. Also says allow 3 hours for this job. Oh, fucking arse, 3 hours. 3 days. One other thing that I've had to do is bend the horns back. You see it's twisted to it's coming under the bracket there, and this one is bent round the corner, and that's because they foul on the front grille just at the back. And so I have sanded using my grinder, taking about ½ an inch out all the way along. You can expect that you will have to do the same. Right, the pipes are on. As you can see, I've had to bend that. Doesn't quite seat all the way flush, but it is tightly mounted. It's so tight, I'm not sure it's going to rub. I had to unbolt my intercooler pipes that cross over the chassis. That's just because I've got a body lift. That's not the fault of the manufacturer, but that's good enough for me. These have passed a tug test. Hopefully they won't leak any boost. This is a total shit show because the power steering cooler has to be relocated. There is space to put it down this right hand side, but I had to remove all the brackets and it's going to rub and bash everywhere. So I've used some cable ties to try and restrict its movement. I've reused one of the cable clamps to attach it to this aircon pipe. Don't know if that's a good idea or not. And I've just put some little sticky adhesives on in case I end up with any rubs. I've tried to use cable ties to prevent rubs where I can. Time will tell. I'll just have to inspect it regularly. In theory, we're good to try a start-up test. Wish me luck. Let's get this thing up to pressure and see if we leak oil everywhere. I'm no longer convinced this is a good idea. Well, try and withhold your surprise, everyone. But we have 1, 2, 3 leaks from the gearbox cooler. Oh my goodness, that is a substantial leak. I think that's the gearbox cooler. So, we're going to have to take all that off then.
1 week later.
Real talk, it's been a few days. I've had time to get less angry, and I've been tidying up the paintwork under here, just, you know, giving things a coat of Hammerite. This isn't ideal, right? But it does look very impressive, and I'm glad I've done it. I don't think it was necessary for me to spend £650 on it when the pipework barely fits, and I could have got some custom elbows to fix that. I'm not happy that I've had to dent and modify the rail here. I'm not happy that I had to cut the brackets on both sides in order to get it to fit. I'm not happy with the relocation that I've had to do with this thing, because there's really nowhere for it. You know, this could have been a little shorter, and, you know, that would have let it fit. The gearbox cooler leaking, that was my fault, because it was just a very, very old connector that broke off, and I've been able to reattach it again because it's moved over to the right, so the pipe is shorter. And the bracketry, I had to re-drill that because it didn't fit, but it is what it is. It is tilted backwards, but it fits. The horns, I've been able to twist them up so that they're relocated. I'll find out what happens when I put the grill back on, whether that still fits. But look, it isn't direct fit. There's a lot of work and a lot of cutting to get it in there. Some bending of aluminium pipes. If you're at all nervous about bending your aluminium pipes, this probably isn't for you. So I think the last thing to do is to get a bit of a test drive and see if I can notice any difference on the road. Please forgive the dodgy video angles, but now I'm going to do a little check and see if I can tell any difference with the speed with the new intercooler fitted. I'm suspecting probably not. Feel anything different at all. There's nothing that I could say that I could feel any difference. Well, I can tell you now, there's absolutely no power difference that I can detect. So I think it would need a dyno to tell any difference. What I will say is there's quite good coverage in terms of the front grille here, for actually having the intercooler exposed to the flow of air. I might move this bottom number plate when I get the bumper off, because I think I'm going to put a light bar across there. Just want to maximise this space. So I'm pretty happy with the amount of intercooler exposure I have in the grille. There's no way it's any faster that I could detect. So, do I recommend it? Nah, not really. It's a silly way to waste £700 or £600, whatever I spent on it. Your mileage may vary, but for me, that was 100% not worth it in effort, in breakages, or in any meaningful difference in power. Now, I will confess to getting a bit annoyed, and perhaps being a little extreme, I may even have said, don't buy this thing. I think a fairer message would just be to be aware what you're getting into. This is probably 3 times the size of the standard intercooler. Let me just grab the thing. Yeah, it's more than double the physical dimensions, and it's much thicker also. I would say it's probably another 20% thicker. And that's why I was saying, maybe 3 times the size. It's not an easy fit. Part of the problem is because your fittings will be old. They're going to break, the bolts are going to seize, and what I ran into was aluminium pipes breaking. So that's an aircon pipe, but the gearbox cooler pipes, or what I'm calling the gearbox cooler, but I think is actually a power steering cooler, because the lines are feeding off the power steering reservoir here. I did look up the part number, but couldn't find anything. So if you know what that is, please do let me know. So there's a steel line at the back here, the one that I was worried about. It just broke. Now it was broken already, and it was just sitting ready to shear off. It's just that I was in here doing this job, and that's what finished it off. Now, is it direct fit? No. You have to relocate the gearbox cooler, relocate the lines, relocate whatever this is. Maybe it's another part of this steering cooler. And that's not a good place for it, because it's going to rub. So I've tried to fasten it as best I can to avoid the rub. I did have to cut the brackets to get it to fit both sides so that it would drop in to these mounts. I didn't really want to cut it, but I had to. I also have a body lift, which makes this a bit more difficult to get the piping on, but it's there and there's enough slack. But I think everyone is going to have to bend out their front trim panel here, because this is super tight. I mean, it's actually compressing the intercooler hose to run past there, but it can't go any further back. That is it. It can't go any further back. So unless you're maybe fitting a winch bumper or something, I don't know. But it's on. It's very sturdy. My gearbox cooler is very sturdy now with the mounts. I had to fabricate up a little extra one. I mean, I say fabricate, I just chopped up some steel stock and put some bolts through, because these brackets are so old that they'll shear. But it's in, and while I have it off, I'm going to fix my front bumper so that I can shorten these tabs and get my bumper fitted correctly, because the body lift is really stretching the bumper. I've got some more work to do, and I've got to put the new lights on and so on. So I'll come back in a few days' time. Well, it's in, but I must confess, I'm feeling pretty low here. That was absolutely exhausting. This was a lot of money for what was supposed to be a direct fit part, and it's been nothing like a direct fit part. I've had to do so much bodging and chopping and grinding, and I really didn't want to do that. It has been a frustration and a struggle the entire way through. So if you've made it this far into the video and you have any form of encouragement for me, anything you'd like to see me improve on, please do drop it in the comments below. If you're enjoying these videos, let me know. They're hard work to make. It takes a lot of time, and it slows down every mechanical task in order to film this stuff. But if you're enjoying the videos, please do let me know, and please do subscribe. So thank you very much for watching this long one. Stay safe, make good decisions if you can, and I will see you hopefully in another video. Thanks everyone, bye.